Hey friends, welcome back to the Bald Booktuber. My name is Scott. Today we're going to do the 20 questions book tag. This has already been done by several booktubers, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Most recently, my pals Chaz over at Bookish Chaz, Theo over at Rekindled Reader, and Madison over at Madison Goodyear have done it, and it seemed like fun, so we're going to do that today. So let's get rolling. How many books is too many books in a series? I don't know if there's such a thing. For me, I like to have long series. I get sad when the series ends. I'm not in a hurry to get a conclusion ever. Probably one of my favorite series is famously unfinished, Song of Ice and Fire. One of my favorite series is Dresden Files. We're on book 17, I think, or 18 out of a planned 25. So for me, there's really no such thing. I like spending long periods of time with one or more of the same characters and seeing how they grow and change over time. So yeah, I don't have this hard and fast, it must be 5 books or less rule or anything like that. How do you feel about cliffhangers? In general, I don't have strong opinions about cliffhangers. They're fine. They keep me reading. I know people get upset about them. For me, not a big deal. Bring on the cliffhangers. That's fine. All right. Question number 3: hardcover or paperback? In general, neither. Although I do like to have a nice hardcover on the shelf. My preferred reading method is via Kindle ebook and or Audible audiobook. So I don't really read from physical copies these days. So if we're talking about for collecting and displaying on a shelf, hardcover. Otherwise, we're going to say Kindle ebook and or Audible audiobook. What is your favorite book? So I'll stick with favorite book within the genre that I primarily read, which is fantasy, and that is A Storm of Swords, book 3 of A Song of Ice and Fire. Nothing has ever reached the heights of that book for me. I don't think anything ever will, but we'll see. Just some of the most mind-boggling choices ever made in a fantasy book at the time. Now authors are doing all kinds of crazy stuff to their characters and with their characters, but I didn't see a lot of that coming. For spoiler reasons, I won't talk about what they are, but if you know, you know. So what is your least favorite book? Probably one I read earlier this year is a book, nonfiction called Hype by Gabrielle Bluestone. It was supposed to be kind of a study of how broad, massive, I guess, con artists can get away with manipulating people. What it ended up being was a bunch of nonsense. So I didn't like anything about that book, so that was no good. Easily one of the worst books I've ever read, and my least favorite. Question 6: love triangles or not? That's a no for me, dog. I don't want love triangles in my books. Question 7: what is the most recent book you just couldn't finish? This was last month. I didn't finish A Shadow of Lightning, A Shadow in the Shadow of Lightning by Brian McClellan. I got a free advanced reader copy on audio through NetGalley, and I made it about 40% in, and I was just bored out of my mind. I really wanted to like it. I like that author, Brian McClellan. He's a good dude. And I was excited about the premise, but ultimately it just didn't do anything or go anywhere for me, and I wasn't invested in a single character in the book. And for me, that's too big of a bridge to cross. If I'm not invested, then I'm not interested. All right, let's keep going. Question 8, a book that I am currently reading, and I am almost through The Gray Man. This is book 1 in the Gray Man series by Mark Greaney. This is a military thriller, and I'll be watching the adaptation on Netflix, I think. What is today? The 18th? So in 4 days. The 22nd is made into a movie with Ryan Gosling playing the lead character. He's an assassin, and the, I guess, bad guy in the show will be Chris Evans, Captain America. So I'm excited about that. The book has been fantastic. Just ripping through the pages. It won't take me long. I've got maybe an hour left of reading and audio time, and it'll be really a pretty high rating. I think I've been really pleasantly surprised. I thought I'd probably enjoy it. I didn't know how much, but yeah, I'm liking it a lot. I think it's an 8 or 9 book series so far, so I've got a lot of fun ahead, so that's good. Question 9, what's the last book you recommended to someone? The last book where I did a bit of a, I guess, TBR swap with someone was my friend Jack over at Jack and the Bookstack. I had her read The Lies of Locke Lamora, which is book 1 of the Gentleman Bastards sequence by Scott Lynch. It's one of my favorite books. It's one of my favorite series. She seemed to really enjoy it, which is good. I read Verity for her, which is one of her absolute favorite books. It was good. Yeah, it's a book that I recommend to a lot of people who want to try the fantasy genre and they're not really sure how to get into it. It can be read as a standalone. It's currently book 1 of 3 of a planned, I think, 7 books series. So, all right, let's keep moving. Question 10, what is the oldest book you've read by publication date? I believe, and I could be wrong, I maybe have read something older, but I believe this is A Study in Scarlet, which is the start of the excellent Sherlock Holmes adventures by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I read this in high school, and yeah, it's been a while, but I need to revisit. I really like Sherlock Holmes stories, and so yeah, at some point I will revisit those, either audio or reading or both. So excited to do that. All right, question 11. What is the newest book you've read by publication date? So I had to look back. This is The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. This was published April 12th. I thought it might be Kingdoms of Death by Christopher Rocchio, but that was actually published March 24th. So read both this year, love both very much, both top 10 entries this year. So very good. Yeah, that's the most recent in terms of publication date. Question number 12, who is your favorite author? This should come as no shock to anyone who's watched the channel at all. This is Miss Robin Hobb, the Queen of Fantasy. I love everything about the way that she builds her worlds. I think she is the best prose writer, writes the most beautiful prose in the genre. I think she is the best character author. I think her character inner dynamics and relationships are the best the genre has to offer. I love everything about her work. Some of my very favorite books in the genre are all penned by her. My second favorite overall series in the genre belongs to her. That's The Realm of the Elderlings, which is 16 books. And going back to question 1, there's no such thing as a series too long. Yeah, she's it. She will never be unseated. So there we have it. All right, question number 13. Do you prefer to buy or borrow books? Ideally, I like to borrow them if and when I can. I like money, so when I can save money, that's a good thing. So I use the Libby app. I use, I guess NetGalley isn't really borrowing, but I get a free copy of the book. Scribd, I use Kindle Unlimited quite frequently. So if I can get free and or cheap in terms of subscription books, that's what I prefer to do. But I also am not known for my patience, so if I want to read something now, I tend to buy it. So yeah, in terms of the impact on the wallet, I prefer to borrow. In terms of being able to read what I want when I want, I prefer to buy. Question 14, what is a book everyone loves or at least likes and you dislike? I don't know if everybody loves it, but I'm going to go with All Systems Red. This is book 1 of Murderbot. I've talked about it before, just not a book for me. I have no interest or investment in that particular character. And if you're not interested in the Murderbot, the character, it's really hard to care about that series because everybody else feels kind of like a cardboard cutout that's just kind of there to move the plot along. So not for me, not my kind of story. All right, question 15. Do you bookmark or dog ear? So my Kindle ebooks and my Audible audiobooks are in pristine condition, not a single scratch on them. But seriously though, I tend to use bookmarks. I like some nice bookmarks, and when I was still reading physically, that was my preference. I don't like hurting my books if I can help it. So I prefer not to break spines. I prefer not to dog ear pages. I don't like writing on them or in them or highlighting on them or in them. So yeah, if I can keep them nice and clean, I'd like to do that. All right. Number 16, what's a book you can always reread? This is going to be Game of Thrones, book 1 of A Song of Ice and Fire. Being able to revisit some old favorites like Eddard Stark and King Robert Baratheon and others is very good. Probably I've reread that book the most of any book I've reread, so maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 times I've reread it. So yeah, that's the one I revisit a lot. I will actually be participating in A Song of Ice and Fire read-along starting in January. So it's been a while since I've done a full reread, so I'm excited to get into that. All right, number 17, can you read while hearing music? Yes. In general, I do tend to prefer to audio and read at the same time immersively. So that's my number 1 preference. But if I am just reading, I do like to have a little either ambient noise or better than that, I like to have like orchestral scores and stuff like that where there's no words. I definitely can't read if they're singing words. That's too tough. But if it's just musical instruments playing, that's perfectly fine. All right, getting towards the end here. Number 18, do you like one point of view or multiple point of views? I like both, although if I have a preference, I would rather have multiple point of views. Even, I guess, spoiler alert, in a series known for a single point of view, with Realm of the Elderlings, the books following Fitz are single point of view in Farseer, the first trilogy, and in Tawny Man, the third trilogy. And it's primarily his viewpoint even in that 5th trilogy, which is my favorite trilogy of all time, the Fitz and the Fool. But a secondary character is introduced that also has point of view chapters in it, and I think it adds to the story immensely. I just like having different perspectives. Kind of a similar thing happens with the Red Rising series. The initial trilogy is all just from Darrow's perspective, but then starting with Iron Gold and Dark Age, we have 4 different primary point of views, and I like that second trilogy a lot better. Hopefully that 3rd book of that second trilogy is coming this year or next year. Question 19, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? This is going to be multiple days. You know, time is limited, and many of the books that I love are 500 plus pages, so that's just not going to happen in a single sitting. The last book I read in a single sitting, it's probably been a while, but I think I did do that mostly with Battleground by Jim Butcher, the latest Dresden Files book. And that was a bit of a chunker. That was over 600 pages, if I recall correctly. But I had the day off in the next day, and I just kind of made it a priority to continue reading and listening and get through it. So yeah, it's not something that happens very frequently. Finally, question 10, who do you tag? I don't think RJ over at RJ Gibson has done this one yet, so I'll tag RJ, and I don't think Kyle over at Read by Kyle's done this one yet, so I'll tag him. So there we have it. Those are the questions. Those are the answers. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and everyone remember, publication order always.